We're going to talk. to Tech Charged, a Turn Down for What live cast. We are here, as always, with our friend Martin Meek. Myself, I am Chris Bowe. Normally, we've got Jace with us, but today he is going to be out, so we are going to have to be the ones you put up with. Don't forget to check out Martin Rebuilds on YouTube, as well as BowefamilyEV. It is Thursday, January 30th. This is episode 3. Super excited to see you guys with us today. Martin, how have you been? How's your week? Is it still snowing in Kansas?
Man, it's been great. No, the snow is let up. The temperature was 50 today. It's supposed to be 65 on Sunday, so very unseasonable for Kansas weather. But don't worry, it's Kansas. Just hold your breath. It'll change and be 30 again next week.
Nice. We do get occasionally in the 30s, but no snow with it. Supposed to get some rain starting on Friday, so actually looking forward to that. We haven't had much rain this way, but yeah, never get the snow. Never get the snow. I'm a little jealous. Every time I see a shot of like Joe's lightning or Jace's lightning, and it's got that snow cap, and I'm just like, oh man, there's just something super cool about seeing it when it's laid out like that in the snow.
Yeah, just moved to Florida. Evidently, they get snow now.
Yeah, my parents, funny enough, live in Pensacola, Florida, and did get snow right there in the Panhandle, which is super unusual.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know what that's about, but today we're going to be kicking off talking a little bit about the Mustang Mach-E. Some cool news came out today about that, and then we are going to jump into a little bit of the Forscan magic that we've talked about before, and all of the things that are possible with it, because it's one of the most common questions that we see is about functions that the Lightning and other vehicles have, that if you've got Forscan, there's things that you can do. There's also FDRS. There's a number of things that there's different levels to it. Like I know that, I can get in at a certain level with my dongle OBD2 port, but that doesn't give me the ability to typically change much. It just gives me the ability to monitor it.
Except for I'm going to show you how to do that tonight, because that's actually how we're connected.
Okay, cool. See, that's something that I've never been able to experience. It's always been just that I could monitor with the OBD2 port, but I couldn't really change anything. I could clear a code maybe, but it was pretty limited for the most part in terms of what I can do. So I'm excited to hear what you have for us there. That's for sure. I guess we'll kick off the show kind of talking about what came out this morning from Ford. The 2025 Mustang Mach-E is available now to order for retail, and there's a couple changes that, speaking of the snow, hopefully will be beneficial to folks out there in your part of the woods. I mean, out here in California, I don't know that it'll make much of a difference, but they've got the heat pump coming out here in 2025 for the Mach-E, which I believe will also make the frunk a little bit smaller because they had to make room for the heat pump. It's also exciting for me. These are things that I've griped about in the Lightning, but the Tesla charging network will now be integrated into the native navigation. How do you feel about that? Because you've been somebody that uses the native navigation a heck of a lot more. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's the biggest news that Ford's had in a long time. We've all been complaining about it, that if you're going to allow us access to this awesome, the best network in the world for being able to have, consistent charging, we need to have access to be able to navigate to those. And it's just not something that's been there. And Ford kind of dropped the ball on that, to be honest. They should have had that all ready to go before this was ready. But you know what? Hey, at least we could charge, so I shouldn't complain. But yeah, I think it's going to be awesome that they are allowing us now to have that navigation right within the factory Ford navigation, because up until today, the only way that you could go to a Tesla Supercharger and precondition along the way is Google EV routing, which sounds like, as they're rolling out 10.1 to a lot more people eventually. I mean, eventually it'll come out. I have it because I used FDRS and pulled it, but as they start rolling that out, you'll be able to have some of those features where you can precondition go into those chargers. And that's what's going to be big about the factory nav, is those guys up north want to go to a Tesla station, but they don't have a way to precondition. Now they're going to have that.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge change, I think, all the way around. And shout out to Jace. This was his post earlier today. He can be with us in spirit, representing the news from Ford. So yeah, there you see the heat pump, um, auto lane change with Blue Cruise 1.5. That's the first time I've seen 1.5 referenced. Do you see that
Yep,
in the Lightning for
I
FDRS?
do. I do. 1.4 is the only thing really available that I have seen. I have updated our 21 Mach-E. It does not have 1.5. It has 1.4. So it
Okay.
has the lane repositioning and it has the hit the turn signal and you can move over, but you don't get the auto lane change where it will suggest the lane and then move over for you. But I guess that's new. They're gonna roll it out now. They've been
Yeah.
promising it for a while.
So that's exciting to see. You kind of get these little hints of what's to come. The auto lane change is something that the GM products have done, and I'm
Yeah.
curious what you think about that. I'm a little mixed on it because I have control issues, and what have you? We'll have to see what Ford does, how aggressive it is, how often it's switching. But
Right.
have you had a chance to try it in one of the GM products before?
No, I actually haven't. I wish that we had Jesse or
Yeah,
Josh here
Josh.
because they have. From what I understand, it does give you plenty of room in advance, and it won't just cut people off when it's suggesting to do the lane change. But I can tell you that with the lane change where you hit the blinker, it does use all the radar systems in the car and make sure there's nobody within a safe distance before it moves over. So I know that is probably in the base software with this auto lane change. It's just doing it automatically rather than you telling it to hit the blinker. It's looking, suggesting, and then it'll do that. What I did notice that with 1.4, as you come up on a car in the Mach-E, and I haven't used this in the Lightning yet, so I'll be curious to see if anybody has. But as you come up on a car, it will suggest that you can make a lane change, but it's not automatic at 1.4. So 1.5 evidently brings
And
that ability to just move over and weave through traffic, more like Tesla. We'll say that.
yeah, it's interesting the different approaches that I've seen with my sister's BMW iX that I had a chance to drive with that software. It's interesting because what it will do is if you take and look with your eyes into the mirror and acknowledge that it is clear, the software will lane change for you without having to hit the blinker. It will just look at your. It's got these crazy sensors where you can like skip a track or turn the volume up and down with your hands, and it can look at your eyes. So as you glance over, if there's an opportunity to lane change, you just look over in the mirror, and the BMW will change lanes for you. So all these different kind of ADAS functions that these companies are coming out with. It's interesting to see how they're used and what each different company is doing, what their approach is for it.
Yeah, but like you said, Chris, the more tech, the more you give up control, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not. So we'll see how this rolls out.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest things is just in terms of the cameras and being able to look ahead. Like I don't remember if you were talking with me about this before, but because it's using the LiDAR and using positioning of cars in front of you, there could be something occurring, a quarter mile in front of you where you see a ton of brake lights and your eyes will see it, and a camera would be able to even see the light up of red. You see the sea of
Yeah.
red in front of you. And the Lightning or Mach-E will accelerate into those red lights when you just want to.
They
You
can,
don't need to.
yeah. And there's no reason that tech shouldn't be here because they already have it with the Matrix headlights. It will
Yeah,
see headlights and it will roll those lights down. So it's detecting, the detection method's already there. So I'd be willing to bet that in the next year or two, we're going to start seeing more towards automatically driving. I wouldn't say full self-drive, but I think they've always been a notoriously a very slow adoption rate for new tech. And I think that's on purpose and honestly probably smart. Because you don't want to release new tech that just has all kinds of bugs. Nobody is going to catch Tesla anytime soon. They've been doing it so long. They've got that stuff down. But yeah, I think you're right. There's no reason why you couldn't see the brake lights or a red light and stop for you rather than just the adaptive cruise control.
yeah, they tend to be very conservative on their software and their rollouts, and a lot of these functions that we're seeing here in the 25s, we don't see yet in our 22s and 23s, and those will
Right.
slowly kind of start to reveal themselves over time. Another one that I'm excited about is the charge speed being on the display, and it's not shown here on Jace's post, but I know the 24 and 25 Lightnings both will show you your charging speed on your driver display.
Yeah. You don't have to get your OBD reader. You don't have to do any of that now. It just shows you that the charger is working. And because of the nature of the infrastructure, you kind of need to know how fast it's going. You could be pulling 30 kilowatts and not know it. It just says fast charging on the 22s and 23s.
Yep. Yeah. And especially if you're
tonight, we're going to show you how to go about, that's where we're headed here. A lot of these things that we're teasing for the Mach-E, a lot of this is available on the 22 and 23 Lightning now. You just have to get it turned on.
Yeah, and it's crazy these things exist and they're in there. And it's just a matter of having the right tools and know-how in order to do it. So yeah, I think that's the kind of thing that I wish Ford was more aggressive with their over-the-air updates. I definitely want to hear from you on how you go about it, because I think one of the things that I've experienced in the past year really revolves around the 12-volt battery and how much that gets drained. And I know from the times that I've taken mine into the dealer and had the updates done there, they can take hours in some cases.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see how you address that while you're doing these updates. And then I think the last thing here on the Mach-E before we talk more about that is just, the sports appearance package. So you can get it to look kind of meaner, like that GT look, but without having to pay for all the GT fun toys that the GT offers, the Magna Ride suspension and all of the kind of extras that the GT provides, but you can still get the stance, but at more of an affordable price point. So I would love to see things like that eventually for the Lightning, where, like a lot of people are asking for that. It's a little bit something more distinctive, something a little bit more street and meanness, a little bit more personality, like the original Lightning, or like some of those things I think would be fun. And those
the light bar on the tailgate kind of thing.
Yep. All those little things kind of make it fun. And then I'm really excited about the lower price point. $36,495 is the first time we've seen it down at that price. So I did reach out to kind of see.
Do we know, Chris, have we heard, do they offer the tax credit as of now? I know tax credit whole thing is a whole nother subject that we don't need to get into, but do you know if they're offering it currently?
It is not currently. In fact, I did reach out today and I kind of pinged Ford to kind of find out what else I could learn about this. It's still early on with it, but it is still being made in Mexico. So that part of it is kind of going to be a disqualifier for some of it. There's still a lot of components and parts that the bar has been raised in terms of percentages for where those parts and components need to come from. And then the battery technology I was really curious about, because one of the things they talked about last quarter was that they were going to be moving the battery production out of Poland and moving it to Michigan. And part of that, LG is the one that does the batteries for the Mustang Mach-E, currently out of Poland, and they were going to move those to Michigan. And so potentially that was going to open up some of those incentives. So I did ask, hey, is any of this price reduction related to options, either about the battery packs being made in Michigan now, or anything with LFP, or any of that partnership, anything like that? And no, it doesn't appear, at least for this first go around of 25. It doesn't mean there might not be something in the later half of 25 or maybe 26. But as of right now, no native NACs, no American built batteries out of Michigan, no LFPs for those as of now. So that may change down the road, but they just eked out some savings.
$36,000. A Ford Power Promise, and I think you still get the adapter for the Tesla network.
Yeah. I think you only get the adapter. I didn't see the notes on this, but if it's like the Lightning, you only get the adapter if you buy the mobile connector. And I didn't see that announced, but that's the way the Lightning is doing it for 25. Is when you purchase the mobile connector, it will also come with the Tesla adapter. So
and
that
I
is
think
something
everybody should have that. I know that's a talking point, because if you're on a road trip and you get in a bind, you can always pull into a campground, a KOA or something, and use that mobile adapter to get you down the road.
Yeah, and for those that also don't know, and I think you'll know this, and some others who have had both the Lightning and the Mach-E, those mobile chargers look identical, but they're not. There is a different pigtail on them for
you can buy
the 240.
Check out my YouTube video on that specifically, because the actual ESV, the actual adapter, the charger itself is exactly the same. But that voltage adapter that plugs in If you've got that yellow band, you're good for the Lightning to charge off the bed. If you've got the bigger one, that's a little bit more volts, 32 amp, you can't use that one in the Lightning bed. So if you have a Mach-E and you have their mobile adapter that came with it, and you try to plug your mobile adapter into somebody else's bed to charge your car, not going to work. But you can use their Lightning one and it will work because it has that yellow band. That yellow band is what tells everything.
Yeah, that's a big value right there, that ability to charge other EVs. And that's one of the things that is really the only reason I recommend going with the Ford Charger, is if you have the Lightning, is so that you have that ability. Because as much as I've looked around, there aren't other EVSEs, mobile chargers, that give you that easy ability. I haven't seen any where you can adjust the amperage 1 amp at a time. It's usually going to either jump from 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. There's not a lot of, where you can take and get 30. You're either going to be at 24 or 32.
That's right.
And so, yeah, that's one of those things where I wish there was a mobile charger, and I've looked and looked and looked. I think the only other 30 amp that I noticed, it might have been in the Cadillac. I'm pretty sure that I saw that the Cadillac Escalade IQ, for some reason, is a 30 amp mobile charger. I saw that on one of the reviews, and I don't know if they were just misspeaking, because normally it would be 32. But one of the reviews, it might have been out of spec, I think, or someone opened it up and it said they were saying 30. But I have not.
Maybe they knew you were going to run out and you need a Lightning to charge you.
Right. Yeah, that would be awesome. So yeah, I've actually got two. I've got two mobile Ford mobile chargers. One is my original, and then I've got one signed by Jim Farley that just kind of sits in its own place of prominence. It's not something I use, so I use the one that isn't signed by Jim Farley for the truck.
Well, it may become very valuable. Depends on how they do this next couple of years.
Right. Let's take and transition from the Mach-E into kind of what the topic for the day was, which is this idea of all the stuff we're talking about oftentimes exists up there in the cloud. And how do we make that work, man? How do we get it? Because we've talked before. I want the Matrix headlights. I want they exist.
Good point. So let's jump in, and I want to preface a couple of things. And I thank you guys for staying with us for 20 minutes here, listening to the new topics, because these are going to play into what we're going to talk about tonight. So all these things that are going to come on the Lightning and the Mach-E. Of course, the Mach-E was released today. The 25 Lightning information is going to come out in a full, formal format. The way to get some of this stuff early is really two methods. So you're going to either use FDRS, which is the Ford Diagnostic Repair System. And for 90% of us, that's not feasible because it's expensive. It requires a minimum of a $600 Mongoose cable or the $1,800 Ford one. Nobody's really going to do that unless you have a shop. And it's like $50 for 3 days. Now, it will basically give you full access to almost everything that your dealer is doing. But there are some caveats to some of that. The second thing that you can do to change your truck around, to add and stuff, and that's the reason we're going to get into this tonight. I actually have my truck sitting right outside this window with the Bluetooth V-Peak plugged in, and I'm going to bring it up live and show you guys how to use Forscan from A to Z. So Forscan is the other way. Forscan is an aftermarket, not related to Ford in any way. It's an aftermarket company that allows you to go in and look at the modules and change some of that stuff. Some of those modules activate codes, and there are some easy parts to it, and there are some hard parts to it. When I see easy and hard, the hard parts aren't really that hard. If you've got a little bit of computer mindset and you know how to run Excel, you can for sure run Forscan. It's not difficult. Now, if you're one of those guys that doesn't know how to add an Excel, you probably will get your buddy who does to do this, because you can brick some things, meaning you can make your Lightning a big $70,000, $80,000 brick. So we don't want that. I'm going to walk you through some of the pros and cons, and kind of get into what it looks like and how it works. So I put together kind of a popular edit that people do and I'm going to go through these just real quick, kind of give about 5 minutes of preface. It kind of shows you what we're looking at, what we're doing here, and kind of an overview. So first of all, what is Forscan? Well, Forscan's a free, that's key, PC software that allows us Ford users to diagnose, meaning you can read codes, you can scan your truck, look for DTCs, the diagnostic trouble codes. That's that light you get on your dash when something's wrong on our Ford vehicles, and you can change code in the onboard modules of your truck. Well, what are onboard modules? Is what some of you might be asking. Well, onboard modules are basically all those little individual computers in your truck that controls the different functions throughout the vehicle. So I'm going to show you a list of modules here of stuff that we're going to be editing tonight. This list is not all inclusive. It goes through a whole lot more stuff. But these are the ones that are important for the things we're going to show you tonight. So you'll see a list, and I'm not going to sit here and go through every one of these and bore you to death with watching grass grow. But so these are the ones. You got your APM and your IPMA are pretty important. And another really important one is the body control module. Those are the things that are controlling things in the truck. The rest of them control some stuff, but they're not huge. Like for instance, we see down there the IPC, that's the instrument panel cluster module. That stuff that gets displayed on your center screens, that'll be controlled through that IPC. So those are some of the modules that we're going to get into tonight. We're going to show you how to do and how to modify. So if we roll down a little bit farther, we've got the required hardware. So what does it take? I go to Forscan I think it's .org, maybe it's .com. I get their 2-month temporary trial. Right now, you can only get the 2-month trial. So their payment accepting system got blocked at the end of last year. So there's no way to provide payments. They're an overseas company. So there's no way to provide payments to get their 12-month. I think it was like $12. I did it when it was time to do it. But you can still get the 2-month free version. You just got to request it. A couple hours later, sometimes quicker, they send you the code, you enter it, and you're good. So once you do that, then you're going to need some hardware. You're going to either need an OBD2 reader. It can be Bluetooth or wired, or a wired adapter that's not Bluetooth. So I got a picture of the VPeak is a popular one. There's an MX Link. You can do the MX, the CX. There's a whole bunch of those on Amazon. You can get all the stuff on Amazon. You also have that little corded one there. I own both of these. I don't typically like to make changes to my truck using the Bluetooth, but it does work. If you lose Bluetooth connectivity during a module update, it can be difficult to recover. So I typically use a wired version. So I'm going to recommend that you use the wired version, but the wireless does work. Okay. Before we get into, now I've got my adapter. I've got my software. What do I do? How do I do this? You got to understand something that is very, very important that can keep you from wrecking your truck. Doing changes in these modules does not void your warranty, but if you F something up, you're going to have to pay the dealer to fix it. So plan on that. But all we're showing here tonight is how to turn things on or off that are already in the truck. It's not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing. It's not like you're taking and putting a chip for the old school guys, a chip or a cold air induction on your car. These are things that are already there. They just haven't turned on yet. So it's very important that you back up any and every module before you make any changes. I've got that in bold here because I can't stress it enough. If you don't back these up and you make a change and it wrecks it, you can't get back to where you were, at least not very easily. If you do have something happen like that, you're going to have to reach out to people who are very experienced, like myself. There's a bunch of guys on the Lightning F-150 Lightning forums online. And Living It Up has created a spreadsheet. That's his tagline on there that goes through, and he spends a tremendous amount of time helping us do this. So if you get into a bind, you can always reach out to me or somebody else, and we can help walk you through it. I helped some guys this week.
Now, not that you'd want to have this happen, but are you able to take, let's say you brick your truck. Are you able to take someone else's truck, save all of their settings, and then bring it to yours?
That's called as-built data. And if it's the same model and the same truck, you could. Even if it's not, it might get it close enough to get it running again. I have personally not run into a situation where I've bricked the truck where it wouldn't even start, but it can happen. I've heard of it happening. So again, be very cautious. and you'll be fine. Back
But
up
it's
the
not
modules, and
it's
I'm
not VIN
gonna. It
it's not
can
VIN
be.
specific. Oh, it can be. Okay.
It's not VIN locked, so it's not per VIN number. I mean, it's just basically like, it's like when you buy a new computer. Does it have this? Does it have this? Does it have this? Those things all are code in the background. That's all we're changing is some code in the background. So,
And I would guess it would
so
be
now we've got
specs. It would be spec specific, right? So like
yeah,
someone having, me
yeah,
having a standard
yeah,
range versus a long range, me not having Blue Cruise versus someone
correct.
that does, all of these, someone that has onboard scales versus someone that doesn't, all of these little things do matter. So you would have to have if someone else were to post a file, for example, and said, hey, here's the updates from my truck, unless your spec was identical to that truck, you would
That's
not want
correct.
to. Yeah. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure I
Yeah.
understood
So
what
if you
was
got a
going on.
22 Pro, don't go get the as-built data from a 24 Lariat or a 24 Platinum and expect everything to work. There's a lot of crossover in there that will work, but not everything. So the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight is for a 22 or a 23 Lariat. That's the ones that because that's the two trucks that I own. If you have a Flash, an XLT, or a Pro, or even a Platinum, Platinums are pretty close. Go to the spreadsheet and look before you start doing this. It's really easy. You can get on the forums, just look at that area. It's really easy to find. So I've got my software. I've got the modules. I know what they are. I've got my hardware connected. What do I do next? So we're going to get into Forscan here in a minute, but I just want to go over some of these really cool things that you can do, and then we're actually going to open Forscan, and I'll walk you through how to do it. So glare-free matrix headlights, Chris. We've all talked about this, and some of us know what it is. Some of us don't know what it is. Why do I need it? You need it. I'll just put it out there. This is awesome. I mean, it's something that basically that matrix headlight technology allows you to control the individual LEDs down inside the headlight to make a focused beam down the road, but it blocks out those areas that you don't have access to. And I'm going to bring up a video here, Chris, so these folks can see it. You better watch our YouTube ad. We're going to get content blocked for. So I'm going to mute the guy. But if you watch this video, on the left side of his screen, because he's going around a corner on a divided highway, you're going to see this left side of his screen over here start to kind of fade down as he sees oncoming cars. And you'll see it here in a minute. Let me just fast forward to a good spot right about here. So watch that center divider. Watch this divider over here.
Saw it right there.
Lights kind of go dink, 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 dink. And then as they go, it goes right back up. So you notice the right-hand side of his truck, those are staying on bright. So all those deer and animal in the ditch, you're going to see them. And you'll see that dancing headlight, I call it, on the left. And it kind of, see it going down as that car's coming right there?
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a really slick system. So with that said, you can turn this on in your truck. It has probably one of the most amount of modules that you have to modify. So every one of these codes, like we talked about a minute ago, these are modules, and every one of these codes within these modules has a designated, location. So now I'll show you what these look like when we get in there. But so this 7DO0901, for instance, this is the location of this particular code, and this is the code you're going to change. So when you see these online and you see guys asking, well, I don't understand what's the X's and what's the ones and what's all this mean? If it's got an X, you just leave it alone. That means don't touch it. Whatever value's there, leave it there. So this is in position 2. So the only thing on this particular code that you're changing is that 1. So you're going to get in for it. And I'm going to go through this here in a minute, but I'm not going to sit here and go through every one of these. I just want to kind of give a preface to what you're looking at. When you see these codes and these X's and 9s and, like this down here, you're changing all these. To turn on matrix headlights, these are the codes that you're going to change. So that's a really cool feature. The matrix-free headlights are just awesome at night. You never have to hit your brights and dims anymore. It changes your dash from the blue to a green. It's standard in Europe and I believe Canada. And then I don't even ever touch the headlights anymore. In fact, when I get in the car now that I have to turn the brights and dims on, it kind of wears me out because I'm used to the lightning with the matrix. So that's one cool feature that you can do. We roll down here to
now.
the next.
Is that available in Mach-E, or is that only available with the Lightning?
I haven't seen it in Mach-E. I believe it takes some hardware, and I think European Mach-E's have it, and we don't, I believe. So I think just the Lightning for now. Yeah, some of the Lightning guys or the Mach-E guys were frustrated. I haven't tried to do it, so I can't validate that. But the guys online are telling me that you can't do it in an American-made Mach-E, but you can if you're in Europe. So if you're watching in Europe, you can do it. Just go on there and get those codes.
What about the Canadians? Like, do the Canadian Lightnings have these by default, or are they more like?
Do have a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it's already turned on. So I want, if somebody from Canada is watching, tell me, do you already have the Matrix headlights activated? Let us know, because I think you do in Canada. I think it's part of their regulation. That's why the technology's there. Which
such a strange.
That we don't automatically have it here. It's a better headlight system.
Yeah, I'd love to hear. That's another thing. If anybody knows why, if anybody knows the history of that, of why in the United States they don't have that, I believe there's some regulatory thing or something that keeps us from having it, because it's clearly not a technology issue. So I don't know the history of how that came about or why, but it's definitely strange. It seems like one of those
for over a year, and it's great. I don't have any trouble. I don't get blinded by people. You don't, just because the right side of your or the left side is up or down, I don't get people flashing me. The only time I get people flashing me is when I have a load on and the lights are coming up, and they're supposed to be auto leveling, and I haven't figured that out yet. But
is Joey in Canada? Do we know?
Yeah, Joey's up in Ontario. I don't. He can turn it on, but I don't know that he automatically has it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's fun to learn about these things that are like these hidden Easter egg gems that the engineers have put in there, and it's just the magic is there to unleash.
Yeah. So here's the next one. Blue Cruise 1.4. Now, to get Blue Cruise 1.4 itself, you have to have the updates. So what I mentioned earlier, that 10.1 that a lot of guys already have, or what's coming for a lot of the Lightnings, you have to have had that. I understand that if you go get the modules updated in FDRS that do the new CSP for the sensor update, they will update the right modules that gives you the Blue Cruise. So if you look at the things here that you have to turn on, these things that we're turning on are button activations. So if you look at the screen, a lot of you guys won't recognize some of this. So from predictive speed assist down, that's new when you get those. So the predictive speed assist is the speed sign recognition. We've always kind of had the speed sign recognition stuff where it looks at the speed limit signs and will speed your truck up or slow you down, but it basically sucked. It wasn't good. So they've changed it. Now it will slow the truck down before you get to the speed limit. So you can be running 70, it changes to 60, and it'll slow you down to 60, plus your tolerance. I expand that when I took a screenshot here, but that tolerance lets you go up or down from the speed limit, just like before.
And is that's a Forscan or that's a FDRS update?
So it's either going to be an over the air, which will come, or during your Ford recall, or FDRS to get it the base. You have to have that in order to turn these on. And so
like I just got 10.1.1 or whatever that is today.
Yeah, you're ready for this.
So this should be in my menu if I go.
If you turn this stuff on, if you go look, it's probably not there yet, but you can turn these codes on now here, and you will see these menus pop up, and you'll be ready.
So crazy that it needs to be turned on like that. Again, such a no-brainer. Why would you not want it to be there?
Exactly. But when you turn them on, now you get the in-lane repositioning, which is if you're a big truck, it's ever so slightly moving you away, so you're not hugging that big truck. And then that also is what brings the big one, the lane change assist. So you don't have lane change assist when you get this update until you toggle that on. And so, to my knowledge, somebody's going to tell me, you get it, you just can't turn it off. But I didn't experience that, because when I got the FDRS updates, I went ahead and turned it on in here so I could turn it on and off. There are times you don't want lane change assist on. You're on a highway that you don't want it. So it's nice to be able to turn it off.
What's really interesting here is that it's under the menu of cruise control, adaptive cruise control, which I have adaptive cruise control, but I don't have Blue Cruise. So it makes me wonder if these functions will be available to me, even though I don't have Blue Cruise. If they are truly under adaptive, Like
That's a good point.
I didn't think lane change assist would be under
It might
adaptive
not,
cruise
and it might
control.
be that you can turn the button on and just nothing happens. I have some things turned on in my truck, like the propulsion sound, but when you toggle it, it goes on for a second, goes right back off because it's not something that's available.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm gonna be curious to see once I can have you come over. I'm not gonna touch these things. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have the equipment to
Well,
begin with.
let me show you Forscan and you get a better feel for it.
Yeah.
You may reinforce yourself that I'm not doing this after we looked at Forscan. But
I
so another big one that a lot of guys hate is removing that full view not available banner across the middle of there. You can see right at the hitch of the trailer and none of your load because it's stupid banners in there. It's one line of code and it's one thing you got to change. So it's a real simple little change, but that's a big one that a lot of guys hate. So you can change that and then you're good. So
such again, another annoying. I would love to get a hold of one of the software engineers and be like, why guys? What?
Yeah, why'd you do this?
Yeah.
Just make it, it's there. Give it to us. Yeah, maybe it's on purpose to get you to buy the next year model. I don't know.
I always blame the regulatory people. I got to think there had to be a requirement. Somebody had to have a requirement that be there for some reason.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue to this next one. So the regulatory stuff, you have to by law tell people their doors are open or seatbelts are on or their keys in the ignition. And that is really a good safety thing. But as we all know, a lot of us, we turn that crap off. I don't want all the bings and bongs and all that during startup and driving. I just want the truck to operate. So there's 4 different things you can do. You can turn off the door chime. You can turn off the seatbelt chime on startup. That this is not the seatbelt without, this is just on the startup menu. And you can you can turn off the door jar and the seatbelt just with one line of code. You notice that the seatbelt and the door jar are basically the same. If you look here, this is a 0. The next line down is a 2. You got a 0 and a 2 in one line. So you really don't have to do these 2 if you want them both. It's just if you don't want the door jar or you don't want the seatbelt, meaning you don't want it dinging at you, or you do want it dinging at you. And the last one is this to disable the key in chime. It's just that annoying, and for us that have push start, it's just that dinging sound when it's on. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and this is going back a while, but I was talking to people and saying like, why do people care about the seatbelt? In fact, one of the things a long time ago in the past, people would buy off of Amazon these kind of blank pieces for a seatbelt that would go into the seatbelt to keep it from chiming. In fact, I discovered this inadvertently because when my kids would have booster seats, we would put in the seatbelt extension that would allow them to buckle themselves in, but not have to reach all the way down to the seat where the buckle was. It would be an extension that made it easier for the kids to be able to buckle themselves in. And when you had that there, the truck always thought that the seatbelt was on, even when the seatbelt was off, because that piece. So a lot of people were using those types of things to keep the chime from happening. And I was like, why are people doing that? Well, a lot of folks that are on construction sites, or they're working on farms, or they're working on oil fields, they're working in areas where they're popping in and out of the truck. They're not driving down the freeway at 80 miles an hour with their seatbelt off. What they're doing is they're off-road, they're out in cattle country, they're out in big work farm fields, they're on job sites, they're on huge areas where they're driving very slowly, very frequently stopping in and out of the truck constantly. And there's no risk there of leaving your seatbelt off or leaving your door open. But that chime is so annoying. So there's definitely
all the time.
Yep.
And it's like you've seen there, I had 4 different items. There's 3 or 4 things that you have to turn off to get them to be silent. And so it's nice now they're 23 when you get in, it's just quiet. It's kind of like a Tesla, except for the seatbelt, and you can disable it. And we're driving we have a 2014 Model S in the shop right now, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of noise. And maybe you're that way now.
Maybe you're going to get to it, but can you do something similar with the frunk sound and the backup sound? Is there a similar line of code?
You can, and I started to bring that all up tonight, but those are not Forscan edits that you can make. They are different. So I have a couple of videos that I showed on my YouTube channel on to how to quiet those down. The frunk one, there's already videos out there on how to do it. You can take it out. but it'll throw a code. I take them out, wrap them in black tape, and put it back in. So basically, I'm quieting it down. I don't completely eliminate it, but it makes it's way too loud. In fact, early on, there was an update that said front chimes. That was when a lot of people got the battery percentage, but it was initially a front chimes update, and it was to make it louder. It drove me crazy. So I just wrap them in black tape around that speaker, about 30 wraps, and plug it back in, and it tones it down. But that's not something Ford's obviously going to do because it's a safety issue. If you get your head hit when that thing's closing, that's not good.
Who are these people though that are like that thing, A is too quiet, please make it louder, and B, who's getting smacked on the head with their frunk? I mean, it must happen. The world's a crazy place. I'll never forget the original 22s and maybe the 23s had these dash mats that had to be replaced because the original one was kind of flat and people were putting their coffee right behind the 15-inch screen, right on this dash mat, and it wasn't sunken in, and coffee would spill enough times that it then sunk down into the electronics and fried a bunch of stuff. And this new one now, it'll catch all of the coffee or spill or whatever,
unless it goes over the edge. It's got a 1/4-inch lip. Chris, I took my truck in for updates, and he gave me the mat. The dealer said, "Here you go." I said, "Don't put that in. I don't want that dang thing." So I have it. It's in a box on the shelf in the shop, but I'm not putting it in. It makes it harder to detail the dash. And who in the hell puts coffee on the dash of your $80,000 truck? There's a
but
cup
it happens.
holder.
It happens. These are the same people that make us have to have beeps on the frunk. These are the same, right? It's at least the backup one you can understand. Like I actually don't mind having the backup when I'm in a parking lot, there's a number of great scenarios where that beep, it makes sense.
Totally agree.
Even my own garage, I have one of those IQ or MyQ garage door openers, and when the garage door is closing, before the garage door closes, it gives a bunch of beeps to let people know. So I could even understand if it was like when the frunk is closing, it's gonna beep. But man, it beeps when it's opening. Like you're
gonna put your head over there and get a hit.
Yeah,
Tesla doesn't do that. They do on the when it's closing. On the rear, but not when it's opening. And so another one you talked about there was the backup chimes. I had to actually unplug that because I thought, I don't want this. I want the truck quiet. When I first built my first Lightning, I took it out. It's just a speaker up underneath behind the right front, in front of the right front tire behind the bumper. So I unplugged it. It immediately pissed the truck off. It was not happy. It did not want that thing unplugged. And there is a bypass cable that you can buy for $50 or $60 to bypass it. But I got to be honest, I don't think they should sell those. And that's just my opinion because everybody's got an opinion. When that truck is bonging, when I'm backing up, it's letting folks know. If you're in a Walmart parking lot and you're backing up, they don't know what's coming at you. They don't know what electric vehicles are, and they're usually listening for audible sounds around. So that's I don't think we should do that. I plugged it back in and I left mine.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the ones that I don't mind having. It is, if you're leaving the house at 5 in the morning and your neighborhood is quiet, boy, it sounds so loud. But when it comes to those safety issues, I do enjoy having it. I like,
maybe an override button would be good.
Yeah, maybe for those rare scenarios. But again, kind of like what you just talked about, though, is that there's just so many people out there that make so many poor decisions, and you'd like to be able to have the ability to override it when you need it. But then there's going to be somebody that
just gave me an idea.
Yeah,
have an override button on the dash for the front speaker that you can just momentary hold and turn it off. But then you're trying to put your hand on the dash while you're backing up, so that could create a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
So the next one we have, it's annoying, is that startup. You get in your truck, you just want to go somewhere. You got this Ford Splash, and I love its cool emblem. It's a really neat logo, but it takes forever. And you can turn it off, and it just boots really fast right to the home screen. So this is another one that you can turn this off. And I have it turned off and verified it does work on the Lariats in 22 and 23. So something on yours, this would work. This wouldn't be even on a standard range or a truck that didn't have Blue Cruise. This will still work on yours.
That's cool. Yeah, it does take a while. It's a fun screen to see the first 400 times, but then you're like, hey, just boot up.
We've seen this. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So another thing you can do, if you're one of those guys that you're in traffic and you want the blinker to stay on more times as you do that half a tap and it blinks, you can go in and change the SCCM, the steering control, the steering module basically, and change these digits for 3, 4, 5, or 6 blinks, which if you didn't know, it's 3 blinks by default. And when you hook up to a trailer, it automatically changes to 5. So you'll get 5 blinks with a trailer and 3 without, but you can change it to 5 or 4 or whatever if you want to.
Now, is this controlled by you plugging in the trailer, or when you go to tow mode, that changes?
No, it's just by plugging in the trailer. Everything is triggered on that by plugging into the 7-pin RB port in the back of the truck. So another new one. I don't know if a lot of people have seen it. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Chris. This is the Biosonic equalizer for the B&O trucks. So those of you that have the B&O sound system, this is something that you can turn on. There's 2 codes you have to change. And again, we're going to get into that in a minute and show you some of these. But this is what the screen looks like now. If you turn this on, you've got this equalizer button, which we've all seen, which is your bass, treble, mids. Then this Biosonic, and you've got a toggle. You can touch this toggle and pull it up or left or right. And then there's presets down here that actually move that for you. And I played with it this morning. It's not it's not ground shattering. It's not whatever, but it's kind of cool. Certain things, podcasts are a little more clear. I like the party one for music this morning when I was playing with it, because I actually just turned this on yesterday in my truck. I didn't even know that I could get it. And I found it when I was doing all the research for this podcast, and boom, there it was. I was like, oh, this is cool.
I'm with Joey. Like, I had no clue. I had never seen this before. Is this something that is newly pushed and is maybe a 25 item that now is hidden in there, or was this there the whole time?
I have not updated the 23 in about 6 months since I took Joe's truck back to Florida. For those of you that have followed my channel, so this is an update from then. I've not gotten an OTA, and so I think it's there in the background. If you have B&O, I think you can turn it on. Another thing that they hide that we don't know about. So it's pretty cool.
And you're like, why would you hide this? Why do I have karaoke, but I don't have this? This is way cooler than karaoke.
It is, but have you played with the karaoke?
Once or twice, yeah.
With your wife, when I had my wife and I played with it, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
This is what I would call kitschy. It's one of those things that you play with once, and then when you get it set and you never leave it, you never play with it again.
Very true. So, yeah, you're going to put it to where you normally put it. And
yeah. So here's another one. Guys really, really, really have been talking about is the walk-away lock. So I want to be clear. This is walk-away lock buttons in the menu. You cannot use Forscan to turn on walk-away lock. In fact,
this is FDRS then.
FDRS, and it has to be done by a dealer now. So when we updated our 23 Lightning, when we first built it, the Lariat, I was able to update the BCM, the body control module. Your walk-away lock function is in the body control module. So when we first did this, a lot of people were complaining. I got an update, and now my truck's locking all the time, and it just pisses me off. I walk out to get in something, I don't have my phone on me, and it's locked. Now,
I've seen a lot of those comments.
You can turn that on, put a C in the 5th digit of the APM, and you get this menu comes up, and it's enabled and disabled. In fact, all of these pictures are of my truck, except for that trailer when I didn't have that because I already turned it off. So this is actually the truck. So we can go in and disable that. If you're at home and you're on the weekend, you're like, I don't want this thing locking when I walk away from it all the time, just turn it off now. Pretty easy, pretty easy stuff. So I think that's most. Okay, no, we got a couple more. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm ready to jump into Forscan and start showing you stuff. The tire size speedometer calculation is actually, there's an easy method and a hard method. I think I mentioned that earlier. That is something you can do. It's in the body control module. So for those of you guys that put winter tires on, summer tires, bigger tires, you can go in there and change your tire size real easy with Forscan. Trailer side view towing.
As someone that doesn't, so I don't change my tires out here in California. I don't have that winter and summer. Is it changing? For example, the Pro is an 18, mine's a 20, the Platinum is a 22. Are you talking about changing the tire size in terms of the wheel size like that, or are you talking about the width? What is that changing?
No, so if you take I'm gonna call it rollout. If you take a piece of string and wrap it around your tire and measure the length of that string, How many feet does the truck or kilometers does the truck travel with one full revolution of the tire? That's what we're talking about.
So typically, if somebody were to change out their tires and go to, Discount Tire, American Tire, Costco, and is their speedometer going to be off until a dealer or somebody goes in and adjusts this? If the diameter, if that tire is a different size?
So I want to give you the politically correct answer. No. The detailed answer is your speedometer is probably off right now. All tire manufacturers don't have the same rollout. If you put more air in your tires, guess what? Its rollout's bigger. If you put less air in your tires, the rollout's smaller. If you go from a mud tire to a regular tire, the chances of that tire going down the road and expanding because of inertia and kinetic energy throwing that tire to the outside, it's probably not accurate as you sit here. And you can go in and tweak that to get that right. So I think it maybe when Joey, I can't remember, one of my Canada guys had talked about their tire size being off. And if you get your tire size off the wrong way, you're going to put miles in your truck and you're going to be out of warranty before you were actually supposed to be out of warranty.
Wow.
You could have 37,000 miles on your truck if your tire size was off since new and you really only got 35, 36, 37, depending on how far it is. And there's some math calculations you can do there. So I suggest to everybody, check it and then go in and change that number and use a GPS on your phone. Grab your phone, and there's a lot of apps for GPS and make those match. So I did that on my trucks when I got them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because every time I see, for example, one of the out of spec videos, they always talk about when they're doing one of those big road trips across the country, they always talk about the GP, like, hey, we're going to go 71 miles an hour, which is 70 GPS. And so is this the type of reason that these things are happening? Is every car might be? That's so interesting.
Absolutely. They're all off because no tire is the same. If you go to Discount Tire and you tell them to put tires back on your truck, politically, yeah, you got the same tires, but chances are it's going to be off a mile or so.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. That makes so much more sense now because they always would refer to that. And Joey saying losing 5 kilometers of warranty per 100 kilometers. Wow.
There you go.
That is dramatic, man. So
it is.
Now did Joey find this through a chat that you guys were doing, or like I'm curious?
Actually,
Joey,
him and I were talking about it specifically. He messages me quite often for getting help, and we were talking about this specifically. And I said, hey, you might want to check your tire size. And it's not something I don't think he was too concerned about at first, but I was like, dude, you're losing warranty here if it's the wrong direction. So that gets your attention. Now I'm not suggesting you make your tires really, really big or really, really small. And
I was just about to say, if you're somebody that's doing
don't even go there. So if you guys do that, but no, I think it's good to keep it accurate because you're not going to know your speed.
Right.
The truck is going to maintain the speed of what's on the speedometer. So if you tell it to go 5 over, it's going to be going 5 over, whether that's already 5 over to begin with or not.
Yep, absolutely.
So another one I posted on YouTube here a while back. This one's a big one. This one's a huge one, actually, for if you tow trailers at all, ever. Or if you don't tow trailers and you want to have these cameras come on when you put your blinker on. This one is 4-camera side view while towing. It's 2 easy changes. There's 2 numbers you have to change in there. It adds that side view. When you put your blinker on, that side blinker shows down the whole length of the truck. As you can see, I'm sitting in a parking lot there with the trailer on, got my gator on the back, my electric gator, and hit that blinker, and it shows that side of the truck. Now, when I posted that, everybody's like, why don't they give this to us all the time? And you're right. Why don't they? But
why
we can't
Martin?
change that yet. We can't change that yet. And I'm sure that'll come out. But all you have to do is go buy a $15 RV plug at the hardware store. And you buy one of the ones that has the little red LEDs in it, like it's a tester, and plug that baby into the back of your truck and just leave it plugged in. Now, it's going to come up and say you're towing a trailer, but it will get used to the new range eventually because it's going to learn the range of the trailer, which you don't have actually towing. Some guys don't want to go through all that crap. I mean, I would, and I like it. Now, I hook onto a trailer so often that I don't really need that. But so, for everyday use, it's nice.
So just to be clear, if I were to throw one of these hitches with the lights onto my receiver, then whenever I turn my blinker on and off, it would I'm assuming it would put me in tow mode then.
It's not going to put you in tow haul mode necessarily. Some of the newer software versions do put it into tow haul mode, which doesn't really change anything on the Lightning. But what it is going to do is going to recognize the trailer and bring up the trailer screen that's going to have you add a new trailer. So you can just type in, this is a fake for, whatever, name it whatever you want. And then every time you hook up to that thing, it's just going to bring that up. Now, it's going to cut your range in half, even if you tell it there's no size, no nothing. It's going to cut your range down at first, but it will relearn that. And so if it relearns it like there's not a trailer, then the range will eventually, it'll take a little bit, but the range will eventually get back to good.
So if I named it hitch cover, it does have to, but it has to be physically plugged in. I can't just tell it I'm using the hitch cover. I would create the profile of hitch cover, which would happen when I plugged it in. And I could still do that in sport mode, for example. It wouldn't require that I be in tow mode.
That's correct. You could be in sport mode. It's just about the trailer being hooked up. You can tow in normal, tow haul. You can tow in off-road if you want to with the trailer hooked up. It doesn't care.
And not I know this
because the left turn and the right turn are the two trigger wires that tell you have a trailer connected. And if you can get a little LED that pulls a little amperage draw on the left turn and the right turn, it will then think you're in tow haul mode.
So many things I would love to ask a software engineer about on this. Now, this doesn't apply
I want to
me.
Sit down with them myself because I'm kind of a halfway software engineer now with my job, and I don't understand. And it's probably not the software engineer. It's probably not the right guy. You probably need to talk to the legal department at Ford. They're the ones that stop a lot of this.
Yeah, I would love to hear more backstory. I don't think they would ever share to that detail if there was legal risk, but man, I mean, my 2008 Honda Odyssey had the ability when I flipped, not 2008, sorry, 2015 Honda Odyssey had that on it.
My Honda Accord does it. We have a Honda Accord. It does the same thing. Turn the blinker on, you get your camera view. So this is a spinoff of that. This one here, this is a 50-50 camera view. So there's two things you change. But if you go down here and look, you get this new menu now that has these two little arrows pointing down the side of the truck.
Wow.
So you can click that button while you're moving and see these. And that's just a change. And that, Chris, this can happen on your truck.
When are you coming to California again? When is that?
Is the flight booked? Because I can leave tomorrow. I mean, it's cold as crap here and raining.
I want all of this. All of this will be. Have you looked at Mach-E?
I want everybody to have this stuff. I want everybody to be able to go in and say, I want to have the trailer turn. I want to have Blue Cruise 1.4. These are continual. This is a living document. The document that I referenced earlier, from Living It Up, the guy on there, they do a wonderful job of diving into this code, trying these things. They put in those grind hours to figure it up and figure out what we need to do these. So I'm not taking credit for any of this. All this is coming from somebody else, but these guys, they download that as-built data, they get a decoder, and they start going through all that data and figuring out where we're at. So it's, there's one more thing I wanted to get to before we get in, because I'm ready to get to Forscan. We've been an hour now, and I really want to get to Forscan, but let me show you a couple more. If any of you guys have the power down timer thing bite you from a movie theater, you have pets in the car, you're trying to power. Now it stays on, it automatically gets turned off when you're using the Pro Power up on board. So that's not a problem, but you can disable this one little number right here. And now that defaults to off all the time. And that's how we have both of our trucks set, because we take pets with us. And if you're going to leave your pet in the car and you forget this in 100-degree heat one time, boy, that's not good for you. So one little code change. And then I have a couple other ones that are just fun. And then we'll jump right into Forescan after this. So silent mode and or dark mode. And there are differences. And I didn't put dark mode in here. Chris, you might be interested in that. The dark mode is for like campgrounds and dark and police mode, where the interior lights don't come on and all that stays dark, but the truck's on. I know you've talked about that for going to the movie theater.
Does that show up? Does that show up as a button on a screen somewhere, or that's always going to be like that?
No, I think once you turn it on, it's there. No, that's not right. I think there is some dark mode buttons somewhere. I didn't look that up, but if somebody's interested in that, especially you, we'll look it up and we can get that information out there. I think there is a button for that if I remember seeing it. Again, the F-150 Lightning forum online is a great source for this. If you go in and just type in dark mode, you're going to find it. Chris, you might even be able to find it while we're on the phone here or on the podcast here. So change the silent mode, just turns all that the noises that the truck makes, not the backup beeper, but it turns all those noises off. So you don't have all that stuff for silent mode. It kind of turns everything down. And some of the guys up north, Joey, if you're listening, you like your temperature of your heated steering wheel? Oh, wait, you don't. We can turn it up. So here you go. And B is the default 35 degrees C. You can go up to 39, which a couple of guys have said they've done it, and boy, will it gets hot. 39 degrees C is pretty warm. So you can change those. If it's too hot, if you feel like it's too hot, you can turn it down. And it's your one line of code change. So if you look here, when we get into this here in a minute, see how it's a B at the very first digit? That's the B. So if you want it to be a 34 degree, just change it to an A. You need, oh no, I want 25 degree, a 1. So you can turn that up or down. And one thing to note, the Lightning steering wheel, at least on my 22 and my 23, it comes on hot, and then after a little while, you feel like it cools off. Chris, do you have a heated steering wheel?
I do. That is one of the things I actually do have.
Okay. So
heated steering wheel heat.
Do you notice it's hot and then it gets cooler as you're driving?
I'll be honest. I've only a couple times used the heated steering wheel because again in California I just don't
need it.
Now, my wife uses the heated seats all the time, but for me I rarely use the seats or the steering wheel.
I got that steering wheel now every day.
Yeah. No, my wife absolutely loves it.
So Joey's saying he's going to turn his down now. I didn't really know that was out there as far as here's the codes and it was that easy, but here they are. So
does it start off as an A and then over at a certain time it backs it down a little bit?
There's logic in the background. I think it starts off as a B. This is default for every truck. It's 35 degrees C. And then these are what you start off at. So I think it's still going to cool off as you go, but you can turn it down to say from 35 to 31 to begin with. Which is sometimes that's good. Sometimes you're one of those guys that you've got, man hands and you can handle 37 or 38 or 39 degrees. I love it on days that I'm cold and I want that steering wheel hot. If you've been out working in the cold and your hands are freezing, you get the truck and you get a hold of that steering wheel, man, especially these leather wrapped steering wheels, they get really cold. We're sounding like a couple of sissies here talking about our heated steering wheel, how it's not hot or cold enough. I can hear myself saying it right now.
First world problems, right?
Absolutely.
Like our bougie, like we're Josh and Jesse with their bougie features.
Oh yeah. So with that said, unless you got anything else, Chris, let's jump into Forscan and go. So like I said earlier, the truck is sitting right outside my window here. It's on. I don't have dark mode enabled. I probably should. Maybe we should do that here, even though I don't want it. So when you get it installed, you get this little window. So here's the pop-up. When it first opens, and hopefully the truck's been sitting here for about an hour, and hopefully this connects. If it doesn't, well, we're gonna have problems. But you can see it says checking Bluetooth. When you go into your settings, the bottom button here that says settings, that's next to the bottom one, I'm sorry. That'll be where you set it up. So I'm starting to wonder if this is going to work because I used it for about 3 hours today, but now we're getting this checking Bluetooth. Oh boy.
I wonder if it timed out.
I don't know. I know the truck's on. My power down timer is not toggled to the on position. I may have to go out there and
give it a nudge.
Yeah. Take a quick bathroom break so everybody can go use the bathroom and give it a nudge and turn it back on. But we'll go through this real quick just to show. So when you get in here, this is your configuration and programming button. All those modules are going to show up. I can't really show anybody anything with this not working. Of course, it's live. It's not going to work now. But let's go in here and go to connection. This is the VPeak. You'll add your whatever one you want right here. See, my phone is one of the options. VPeak is one of the options. So you click that and then you restart it and it will connect and find that VPeak. So I'm going to click this one more time to see if I can get it to connect. If not, I'll run out to the truck, restart the truck real quick, give everybody a bathroom break. Chris, you can fill the air with some more backstory or something, and then we'll jump right back in.
Yeah.
Because it is looking like it's not going to connect, and I did try this. So yeah, live is always great for things like this. Usually I just say we fix it in post-editing. Yeah, not going to work right now. So I got to get out there and do that. We got about 40, 50 minutes left if we're going to go that long. Let's take a bathroom break and come right back if that works for you.
Yeah, that works. I'll just talk to myself. We'll see if anybody chats in while we're doing this quick little intermission. And you can go in.
That are viewing tonight. You guys,
yeah,
there is a chat feature. Hit him up.
Right. We got okay. 7 people currently showing on X. We got 4 people currently showing on the YouTube channel. So yeah, feel free to chime in, throw a comment down there.
I will be right back.
Awesome. So while we got Martin out checking out his truck, just a reminder to check out his YouTube channel. It is Martin Rebuilds. He has a number of cool things. In fact, I can probably bring it up here. So a lot of these videos, he's taken and rebuilt a number of different Lightnings. And I'm going to see if I can swap this over and share my screen and show you guys a little bit of what he does, because on Martin's YouTube channel, we can take and see, like, he has taken, and this is one here where he actually helped me with making a new harness for my Ford emblem. The light up emblem on the front is really cool. It's one of my favorite features. And so Martin's got some great tips and tricks for installing the emblem there. Here's one of his videos of rebuilding one of the couple different Lightnings that he's rebuilt, which is just amazing to see him tear these things down and rebuild them. So I know he's had a couple of them, and he's rebuilt a couple others for some other people. And he's even been rebuilding Teslas as well. So down here you can see some videos of him rebuilding some Teslas as well as the Lightning. So it's amazing to see that these things, people think of EVs and they don't realize that they can still be worked on. Obviously, if you have the training, if you have the know-how. Tesla Winston, for those that don't know, he's been on the Turn Down for What podcast. He does a lot of rebuilds as well. And so these things are absolutely possible. Here you can see on this video some of the before and after of what the truck looks like. So it's pretty cool to see what is possible. So tons of great stuff on Martin's channel. So be sure you go over to Martin Rebuilds and check that out. Lots of fun stuff. And then, of course, Bowe Family EV. Shout out to myself, self-promotion. Probably one of my favorite shows is Around the Horn, and they say self-promotion is the mating call of the mute. But yeah, this is my video on driving my sister's BMW iX. Here we had a great NorCal EV event that we had a bunch of people from the Rivian Club, Lucid, Tesla Club. I had a Honda Prologue come out, so that was a whole lot of fun to do that. This is a video of some of the movie theater transformations that I've done. I have a great sponsor, WorkSport, who does these bed covers. They're made in America. They're based out of New York. If you've ever wanted a great tonneau cover for your truck, man, check out WorkSport. I have my links in the comment for these guys. But I love them because they're American made and have an awesome company out there in New York. These are all aluminum bed covers. They've got some new ones coming out. But what I really like about this one is it was so easy to take off and remove. So it was just a matter of seconds, really, where I took and could remove this tonneau cover. And then what I do is I take the kids to the drive-in movie theater, and we will take, here we go. You can see I've got this air mattress from Airbeds. Airbeds is not a sponsor, but I would love to have Airbeds as a sponsor one day. These guys, interestingly enough, were on Shark Tank a number of years ago. I discovered this completely by accident watching a rerun on CNBC of Shark Tank, and the Airbeds guy was there. And so that's one of those people I'd love to get on the show to talk about like how his company came to be and came to grow, because he actually did not Did not get an investment from the sharks on the airbeds mattress, but I love this thing. If you're someone that goes out camping, this mattress is absolutely fantastic. For me, I'm using it for the kids, and let me see if I have the video here of going to the drive-in movie. There you can kind of see the setup with the airbeds. Got the mattress on there, and where the heck? Here we go. So this is the part where we drive into the theater and we just watch the movie back there, and it's fantastic. So it's molded and fits around the wheel wells, and it's super comfortable for the kids. They absolutely love doing it. So yeah, check out That's a Cool Video and support my guys over at Work Sport. I have a link in my videos, and there's also a Bowe 10 discount code. They do a great job on their tonneau covers. This is probably one of my more controversial videos, where I took and actually drove a Ford F-150 STX while mine was in the shop getting some updates done. And I was amazed by this. It had 700 miles around town. 900 miles was the rating on the highway, and it was 10 or 15,000 less than the Lightning. So I think this kind of shows us where we ultimately want to end up as EV truck buyers. We need to get these prices into the 40s and the 50s. And you know, I don't expect them to get 700 miles of range by any means. But this STX was great. And I can see why people who tow a lot and use a truck for the trades, or they come in from the Central Valley, or they're driving down in the Midwest or Montana or Texas, and they're doing long drives on a regular basis. I can see why they love and why the F-150 is the #1 selling truck, because it really was impressive amount of value for the money. So yeah, be sure to check out the drives that I did. We're down to LA, got some really great charging speed. Went to Hone Ranch and went to Harris Ranch, and went to Rove charging. So all of this stuff was really cool, driving up the Grapevine and then going into the Rove chargers down in Southern California. So all these videos are on Bowe channel, Bowe Family EV. Be sure to check those out. I see Martin has popped back up here. Let's give a look and see if he's had any luck.
No, the technical difficulties continue. I reset the truck. I restarted. I don't know if it's just too far outside the window. It's only about 15 feet. It worked earlier tonight, but I could not get it to work now. So what I'm going to do, in lieu of, you know, having live, is that there's a couple of good videos out there that will show you how to do this. So I'm just going to use somebody else's video and kind of go through some of the screens. I won't show the whole video, but we'll go through some of the screens and kind of show you what they do. I don't know if I full screen this, if it will. Yeah. So when you first go in, you're going to see the truck to be connected, and there's a little window down here in the bottom that'll get it connected. Usually automatically connects for you. And again, there's lots of Forscan videos out there. So learning how to do that is really not what I was after tonight. But this is really the window that I wanted to show for everybody. You've got, I can get this thing to disappear here. You've got these modules that we talked about earlier. So the PCM, the APM, you know, some of these are going to look a little different because this is not actually the Lightning. I couldn't get it to go. But the two that you're going to look at is under either as-built data or the one that doesn't have. So like this one says PDM. This one says PDM as well. So which one do I click into? The as-built data, but with the ones where you actually put in the hard code. The one that doesn't say as-built will be easy method. So I'm going to skip ahead on this video a little bit and see if he shows us how to do these. So here is the one that doesn't have the as-built data. This is kind of the easy mode. So you can go in and you can change, like for instance, we were talking about tire size earlier, Chris. Tire circumference in millimeters. And here's a number. This is the circumference of the tire in millimeters. You just change the number. And then you go down here and you click right. So on these easy ones, you don't absolutely have to do and I'll just let it play for a minute. You don't actually have to do, you know, a backup.
They're just drop down menus, it looks like, basically, right? You're just toggling one option to another. Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff is in the easy menus, but most of the stuff that we talked about tonight is not, because they haven't coded in there for this stuff. Like he's turning on the front fog lights with the high beams. They call that Bambi mode. So yes, you can go in and just turn it on, turn it off. Or you can turn the front fog lights on with the turn signal on some of the models. So like if you have a Ranger or something. So, and when you click right, you get this pop-up window and it shows you, yes, hey, here's what we're going to do. And I'm really frustrated that it didn't work on ours, but this kind of gives you the idea. This is how this works. So when you're doing, a easy mode. So now we're gonna skip ahead, because easy mode, you can do that in any one of the modules. So if you go back over here and you see all of these modules, you can click into any one of these ones, like this one that says PDM or the body control module that doesn't say as built. You can click in any one of those and there'll be easy mode stuff in there, just drop down menus to change. And those are pretty safe. It's when you get into the as-built data ones that you're playing with numbers. So let's jump into, I'm sure he shows some of that. Here's one that is actually for the body control module. So you saw some of these codes earlier. Back this video up just a hair. Some of these codes earlier were coming up, like the 7260101. If you go back and reference earlier in this podcast, or I'll post these on my Facebook page, you change the digit. So like if it's telling you to change the fourth digit from a 1 to a 2, and that's an example, not a real one, you just change that digit. You leave the rest of them alone. But before you do any of this, I think I told you guys you need to back up your module. Go down here to save all. That's all you got to do. You save all, and it's going to save everything you got here into a file. And then if you have to reload it, you just hit load all. So if you're doing some stuff in here and you screw up and hit the wrong number, you can just hit load all. It'll open you, ask you what file you want to load from, and you'll reload it. And then you're back to where you were. So very, very important that you do that first.
Does it give you any kind of prompt at all to say?
Yeah, there's all kinds. In fact, I'll just let it play here. So as he goes through this, and I don't have the music turned on because I don't want to infringe on the guy's video, but see, this is where he's saving to file, and it puts in there your VIN number. It says you're doing the body control module, and that was 9/6/2022. He's renaming this guy's name. So this guy must be named Hunter F-150 BCM. And then that BCM file is saved. And then he can go in and start making changes and not worry that he's going to lose where he started. That's like the most important thing ever, is to be able to do that and not lose where you were. So then you can go up here and you can do this. So he's showing the load from. If you want to reload it, you click load, it's going to open to that folder. You click Hunter 21 F-150 BCM as built data. You hit load, and it reloaded all those. That's how you keep yourself from bricking your truck, is to be able to get to that point. And like I said earlier, I've never bricked a truck doing these. I've heard it's possible, but I think it's unlikely if you back them up and you know what you're changing. So as we kind of keep going, he's going to show us, like, here's the spreadsheet online. This is the living it up for 21 and 22 F-150. There is a lot of things that cross over. All those that I showed you tonight are in this spreadsheet, and a lot of things cross over. So on the F-150, that you get that double horn honk when you get out of the truck. It goes, boop, hey, you left your key in the truck.
Right.
You can turn that off.
Are you able to link to this document? If you send me a link that I can put in the description.
Yeah, sure. It's just a living it up 21 to 22 F-150. It's a 3-second Google search, and it'll be the first thing that comes up. So yeah, nice. But I can do that. So you'll get all your data from here, and there's notes. These are really good documents. So number one, they're easy on the eyes because it's every other line is highlighted, and then you get the notes that says, hey, this is what it can do. And there will be like warnings if there's something that you're going to change. It's only for this year, only for that year. So again, you are programming your truck when you do this, but it's not complicated once you understand what you're doing. The first couple of times can be very intimidating, and then the second or third time, it's really not bad. You just have to remember to back up. So you come back over here. I'm going to hit play on this. He's probably going to bring us up. Except forget to watch a TurboTax. I guess TurboTax got to get their little add in. Shows me, I guess I need to subscribe to YouTube.
Shout out TurboTax if you want to sponsor our show. We're happy to.
Yeah. sponsor our show. We give you yeah. So he's going to scroll down here to one of the files. He's already saved it. He hit the save all button first. You're going to change these numbers. And I'm going to skip ahead because we don't have to sit here and watch him. He's going to change this number, and then he's going to go down here and he's going to hit right. You can change a bunch of them at once and hit right all, or you can do one at a time and hit right. So as he does these, he's going to click the right button. It's saying you haven't changed anything, so there's nothing to change. So if he actually wants to change something, it'll pop up. It'll give you a window. I think I just skipped past it. Yeah, I did. So it's going to say, this is a warning that pops up every single time you change something. Incorrect checksum of data entered. That is the programmer's language of, are you sure you want to do this? And yes, you want to do this because you have double, it's on you. Forscan doesn't do anything to protect you. You have to protect yourself. So you have to go in and say, yes, I've checked my numbers. Measure twice, cut once. We've all heard that. Read it twice, enter it twice. Make sure you've got it in there right. And then you go ahead and you click yes for continue anyway. And what that's going to do is write it to the truck. And you'll see the bar go across. And then it immediately tells you to cycle the key off and then back on. And you want to do that kind of slow. So turn it off, wait a few seconds, turn it back on. And then once we get that done, then the truck's ready to go at that point. That one is in and ready to go. Now, there are a lot of these modules that you do want to go back over here to the this little button right here and actually go in and restart the module. And I tell people to do that. Anytime you're messing with the WBCM or any of those, just go restart the module. It takes 2 seconds to roll over there, restart the module. It's basically like a reboot after you make changes to your computer, because that's what you're doing. So anyhow, shout out to this guy for letting me steal his video tonight. But that, I know that wasn't as in depth as we had hoped, but there's about 50 videos on this kind of this how to use Forscan stuff. But it's really pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Hit us up, hit me up if you've got questions. Jace, I think, knows how to do this too. Chris will after I get to California. So,
well, I'll still leave it to you with your computer and your harness and stuff. And I'm definitely want to be.
Oh, the harness is easy. You should be able to do that.
Yeah.
If there were those of you that didn't know, check out my video on if you got the LED emblem on the front of your truck. Not the LED emblem I was just showing, but the one in Chris's background there. They make a T-harness that plugs into your right front headlight, and it has to be extended and modified. Yeah, there we go, right there. You have
horrible
to be
background.
extended and modified to work with the harness so you don't have to plug it into your fuse box. But they do make those. Check out my video, and you can hit it on my YouTube channel. It's changing 2 wires and making one wire 12, or those 2 wires 12 feet long, so they'll route up around your hood and back to the LED grill, and then you just plug it in. There's no manual connections you have to make to the truck at that point that are like cutting wires and butt splicing things in. It's plug and play once you modify that harness.
Yeah, which is really what they should have done to begin with. It's not. Yeah. It would have been totally within their ability to make a harness long enough to do that, and they probably should have
those 2 wires and make that wire go into the grill 12 feet long instead of 2 feet long or 3 feet long. But it's works. You know, how many F-150 did they sell last year, Chris? Because I know they sold 33,000 Lightnings. Last quarter or last year.
It's tough because they merge all their F series together, but it's, their F-150 is their big seller. So I mean, you're looking at least 500,000, if not 600,000, and then another 100,000 of the Super Duties, that are out there. But it's a lot in those. And
then what percentage of those folks want to buy an LED emblem?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty darn cool. Yeah, I mean, I really think, just honest to God, look at that picture, man. I mean, it looks cool. It really balances out the grill when you've got that LED emblem, and it looks great at night. And there's it really, again, that's the Mustang Mach-E has the light up pony on the GT, and they also make aftermarkets of the light up pony. They make the rear brake light pony too that you can put on the GT and some others, and then Ford makes some rear emblems as well for certain trucks. So
these you can get the F-150 logo in the back and lit. It's a whole nother deal.
Yeah, I think these things to me are super cool. I love them.
What I'm waiting
And
for, and I'll get to that here, Dan, in just a second. But what I'm waiting for is the puddle lights to say F-150. Now there is one company, I think it's Pimp My EV, that makes the puddle lights that say F-150 or Ford, but I haven't seen it that do lightning yet, unless I'm wrong.
Pimp My EV, that's funny. I think that is shout out to Joe Prez from Tesla Owners Club. They sponsor his
Yeah.
Cybertrucks. So I did not realize they did F-150 gear.
Yeah, I think so. I looked at them. They were about $200 for those puddle lights. So it's not the $15 Amazon ones that you can get, but I think they're a quality piece from what I understand. Yeah, Dan, you asked, is there any way to remove that front beeper through Forscan? Unfortunately, the short answer is no. You don't have to remove the speaker completely because it will throw a code. But like I said earlier, you can take off a couple pieces in the front and you can wrap it in tape and it'll quiet it down quite a bit.
And then Joey was asking about the brightness. Is
you own one, you have it. What's your thoughts on that, Chris? Is it brighter than the bar, or do you think it's about right?
It's a little bit brighter. I wouldn't say significantly brighter, and I think it's a truer white.
I agree. You can even see that a little bit in your picture.
Yeah, and it's I do wish Ford did a little bit better job with the light bar. But yeah, it's not enough that it would trigger anybody unless they really had some severe OCD with it. I think it doesn't look out of place at all. And it's got and you can probably speak to this also, Martin. It's got so I got mine directly from Paco, and it has a cool little animation at the start. But if you get it from Ford, they cut a wire for some reason. I don't know if that's to differentiate the two or but Putco makes the one that Ford sells, and but you can buy it from the Ford accessory store. You can use your points for it, and you can even have Ford install it. It doesn't have the animation for some reason, and I think you've gone back and fixed that before. You've just put those wires back together.
Oh yeah, every time. So I've done like 3 or 4 of these, and I'll share this little video clip I have of it. So for those of you that have seen it but don't know what the animation is, this is a picture of the emblem, and as it comes on, it should do this little, like that.
Yep.
And obviously you hear the F-150 in the background because that's what it's. I don't know if they can hear that in the video, but that's the animation that Ford puts, that Ford takes off. When you buy that from Putco, you do get that. So there's one green wire inside that harness that goes from the T harness to there. It already has the heat shrink tubing on the wire. All of them that I've done, all you got to do is solder that or butt splice that together, heat shrink the wire over, and you're good. You've got the animation. And that's because Ford has some licensing issue with the animation through Putco. I don't know the backstory there. If you're from Putco and you know, give us a shout. We'd love to know why.
Yeah, chime in and let us know.
I agree with you though, Chris. A little bit brighter, a little bit wider, but it's not obnoxious.
Right. Yep. And it looks cool going down the road, man. It's it just really it's a big empty space without it. And I think it is. I say that it's the light bar is like the Fu Manchu, and the logo is like the goatee, man, and it just balances out the face of the truck.
Kind of gives you that look.
It does, man. As 2 goateed fellas, I think we can appreciate the balance in the center of the grill, just like I've got balance in the center of my grill. It's good to have.
Some of the younger guys might not appreciate this, but I had the light up logo on my 2002 Lightning when it was nearly new. And I looked at this one and I was like, I was a dumb kid when I did that. I don't need to be that now. I'm 40 some years old, but I do think that it finishes out the truck nicely. Gives it that electric feel.
Yeah. Yeah. I love seeing it come down the road. You know, so many cars are starting to go with that light bar look. And there's just something distinctive when you see that Ford logo right in the middle of it. And I even think it looks great when it's off. Like when it's off, that gray kind of matte look to it. I think looks great during the day when it's off as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that. I think it's one of those that should be an option for all the trucks, but yeah, certainly look into it. I think it's a cool look.
Yep, definitely. So I don't really have a whole lot else. With Jace not here, it seemed to cut down our time. He added some dynamic to this, but
yeah, and I know this was a topic he would have had fun with, because we've had conversations before about him wanting to get a laptop and do some of these changes himself. And he's definitely a smart enough guy that he can do all this stuff. So, we'll see when he comes back what kind of questions he has after it. And then you guys in the comments, like leave questions that you have. We saw some earlier from Joey and from Dan. And if you guys have questions, pop them in here. We can look at them afterwards and reply back, or give links. And if we don't have links, it gives Martin some ideas of things to make videos for his channel, of things that you guys do want to see, because these are all things that he has the ability to do, whether it's FDRS or Forscan or any of these things. If you guys want to see this stuff, definitely put it into the comments, and we can either make those videos or certainly answer and supply links. So great resource to have.
I'm happy to help. If anybody has some stuff, just hit me up on Facebook, or Facebook Messenger is usually the best way. I usually try to get back with you fairly quickly. I try to be fairly quick on that. I want people to have a good experience with their truck, and to me, that's a big thing. So, we talked a little bit last week on range extending, and I did want to bring something up that I learned, validated through, and I didn't get the document to show tonight, but I think we've found that Ford is going to release later at the end of the year for some of the fleet guys the battery range extender that goes in the bed. And I got some early cookies that says it's 25 kilowatt for the bed. So not huge, but yeah, I want to get my hands on that document that says, hey, this is what it actually is. But it's listed as a in-bed battery range extender on that fleet form. So Chris, if you can dig it up somewhere, that'd be awesome. I know you've been trying.
Yeah, I've tried every resource I have, and so I really want to see like who kind of mentioned like what they think they saw, because what I have seen, and we've talked about in one of the other episodes, was we know that Fleet is getting a different extended range option, and I did confirm that with Ford today. I spoke to the team over there and did get confirmation that the Pro extended range battery will be the 122 kilowatt hour battery pack, as will be the Flash.
That's correct.
And so that I know is coming, and they're not LFPs. So interesting. I'm not sure I fully understand. Like, there's such a small difference between the 122 and the 131.
Software, to be honest, I don't think they would produce a different module. I think there's some software things they're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious how that would change the charge curve, because usually the bigger battery, the better your charge curve is going to be. I'm curious on how, if it is software, that's an advantage, because I know Tesla has done this before, where Tesla's battery, where they software limit it has a better charge rate and a better charge curve at a higher percentage, because it's not really that percentage.
That's my car. The car we just built, we finished it up. I think everybody knows that has watched the channel that we were building we had 3 Teslas and we're building 2. I finished the first one this week. It has a 90 kilowatt battery in it out of a 2022, or it was put in 2022, but they software limit those to 85 kilowatt.
Yeah. Yep. And
which
so those
good charge curve. I actually went to the free Supercharger and tried it, and it gives a really fast on a 2014. You're going to see 200 plus kilowatts on those if you upgrade that battery. So I'm hoping Ford does something similar and gives you a 131, really, or 145, but a 131 battery that's limited to 122, 123. I think that'll just have it where you don't get those degradation numbers like you used to.
I think it would be interesting to see if that 122 if it really is a 131. We'll have to see when they start getting out there, when people start opening up and seeing what's in there. But if it is actually a 131, then presumably you can get all the way to 90% and still get a decent charge rate. In fact, you'd still get a better than you're getting now. Certainly, like I've done videos before about don't even bother going to 100, but maybe those software change that curve as well. I don't know. Lots of questions to come on that.
I think that's going to be difficult with any battery because it's like that old example of trying to put a whole bunch of people in a parking lot at once. When you first crush in, you can roll in there, and when you start getting down to not many spaces left, it really slows down. That's the higher number, and even Elon Musk himself has went through that. I've watched those videos, but I'm going to check into this because as soon as I can get a VIN number on a Flash or a Pro ER, I'll be able to go in and look at the part numbers of the modules and compare that to a Lariat and see if the part number on the module is actually different. If they're not, we know it's software.
Yeah, and I'm also curious because they've already got job one F-150s are already being made. So
not
these are
122 though. You can get a Pro ER or a Flash right now that's still 131.
Correct. Yeah. So
that's
if you're
going to start building them in the Pro job 2 is what I understand.
Yep. And so that's going to be interesting to see if they start to do and yes, Joey, Martin is the man. Yeah. Shout out Martin.
Man. I don't have an S on my chest. Just a man.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting when they do have the order banks open for build 2 to start. Do they drop the price like we just saw with Mach-E? Is the price going to come down? And that's part of what's going to happen. If it's going to be the same price, then yeah, man, run out there and make sure when you're making your buying decisions, make sure you're buying that build 1 2025 Lightning because you're going to get the bigger battery. So we'll see. I'm really interested to see in the next couple months what that looks like. As it's funny because Ford and Tesla are so different. So many of Tesla's stuff is out there, either by rumor or by post or by, sometime way ahead of time. Ford, you just don't know. You don't know until you wake up one morning and there's the information.
There it is.
And even then you really got to dig for it. You really got to get out there.
Even the dealers do. I follow the Long MacArthur out at Wichita area. I think that's where they're at. And they do it. They did like a 2-hour podcast on this. And if you can stand to watch the grass grow and get through all the paint drying, he gets to where he gets confused as to really what's out there. But they do release some information. I saw a couple of weeks ago a fleet pricing sheet for all the EVs. And that's how I learned about this kilowatt battery, this 25 kilowatt battery. But Chevy makes a 2WT, a 3WT, a 4WT, and an 8WT this next year. So it's a whole different for fleet. And then I saw some pricing for fleet for the ER and the Pro. You're going to be able to pick up a Lightning at $30,000 if you're a fleet owner with the tax credit. So that's not for us retail folks. We're still going to be putting in 50.
So I actually I saw that the Pro would not be eligible for the tax credit. And again, I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if there's something about, I think it maybe has to do with the percentages and the number of materials that are coming in. So, because the Pro, this is again speculation, it's really hard to get this information as much as I've tried. And I'll try again as we get closer to job 2. I'll see if I can nudge and see if I can get some of the more specifics on these things from my guys over at Ford. So, the Pro has different features, less. And so maybe all those add-on features, if those are sourced in North America, in the United States from suppliers, that could change your percentages. And so what does exist in the Pro is seemingly, I'm speculating now, falling below that new raised threshold for 2025. And the Pro is not getting, last I saw, is not getting any of that rebate. Not
That's
even
probably
half.
accurate. I think you're going to get it with the Flash and maybe the XLT. Of course, the XLT is only standard range moving forward, and the Flash is the extended range. I think the Lariat for sure will, and the Platinum never has.
Yeah.
Those Pro buyers, they're really probably doing a Section 179. They're just depreciating out on taxes anyway. They're corporate guys, so I think it's a little of a non-issue for some of those guys.
Yeah, and so 2025 is going to be an interesting year on the political side, on the policy side, on these changes that we see, and it's going to be kind of a year of transition. I know a lot of people have been asking about native NACS, and everybody that I've talked to, there's no signs that native NACS is coming, which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, Ioniq 5 went and got native NACS, and it might be a little bit early, to be honest, for that. You know, the superchargers don't really support the 800-volt architecture that Ioniq 5 can handle. So, you know, you're not really getting the benefit of having that higher.
Not yet. I guess I read the Tesla, the Cybertruck they started turning on some V4 cabinets, and the Cybertruck's starting to take advantage of it. I've seen some posts about that.
Yeah. So the interesting thing with the Cybertruck is there are two different kind of stories that overlap a bit. So Cybertruck, they did open it up so that the current version 3 and version 4 dispensers, which still have the version 3 cabinets, they will now charge at a higher speed, but it's still the 400 volts. It's simply doing 900 amps, if you can imagine that. So instead of 500 amps, what it used to be, they pump the heck out of the amperage.
Well, those cables are bigger. They should be able to handle that amperage.
Yeah, and they're liquid cooled, so those types of things all help. But there is, to your point, Martin, there is a version 4 cabinet, which is the megawatt charging cabinet, which is going to be used dual purpose. And this is so great that Tesla does this. They're just so smart. So they're making their new cabinet for version 4 will be dual use. It'll be used both for their version 4 cabinets for the folks that have Teslas, and it will be their megawatt charging. And so they will now use those cabinets, which are 1,000-volt and megawatt capable, and they'll be used for the Tesla Semi, or they can be used to distribute amongst like 4 different terminals at 250 kilowatt each. And so now there's some controversy on whether that is a good thing or not, because that's shared load. But Tesla also, and this is some of the things people forget, is, you know, with our Lightning or with the Ioniq 5 we talked about before, or many other cars, those charging curves stay high for a long time. But Tesla has purposely engineered their cars that they want you to come in at a low state of charge. They're going to get a good charge kilowatt at the beginning, and then it fairly quickly tapers off. And so they're cycling cars at a much faster rate with smaller battery packs than the Lightning has. And yeah, you're getting that initial charge curve, but it pretty quickly comes back down again. So if you've got, you know, 20 Teslas all plugged in, they're not all pulling 200 kilowatts. A lot of those are way down in the 70s and 80s. So
that's why when you get a full Tesla station, you usually get pretty good performance at the beginning, because not everybody's peaking all at once.
Yep. Yeah. And so you've got that constant rotating. And out of spec style is you don't charge your Tesla to 80 or 90%. You only charge it enough to get to the next stop so that you can keep.
It's the smart play.
Yeah. I think you've talked about that too.
The rate of that putting in. When we take our trip to California, I'm going to charge. When I routed my Better Route Planner yesterday for that trip, because I got a little tidbit. I bid a 24 Sierra EV today.
Oh, you did bid it. You were talking about that.
I bid it.
Interesting.
I didn't get it. It went for $10,000 more than I wanted to give.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I was doing a Better Route Planner for my California trip, and it said I needed 8 stops from Kansas to California to get there. I'll probably do 12 or 14, because I'm going to stop as often as I can to charge in those peak cycles as much as I can. That 10-minute boost is so much faster than the rest of the cycle as far as overall charge time. You can save hours on a trip if you stop, if they're right on the highway. Like I know Kyle and their Race Across America did that. They were stopping every hour or two just to hit those peak cycles.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We have a family trip in I want to say April that we're doing down to Arizona, and so it'll be interesting to see as I do those kind of stops which route I tend to go. You know, having kids and doing stops for food and bathrooms and all that stuff, sometimes I have more time, but it does seem that, you know, having the quicker charging, and my charge curve obviously isn't as high as yours, being the standard range. You know, I max I've seen is 177, whereas yours I've seen, you know, the extended range get all the way up to 193. So
yeah, I've seen 191. That's my record, but that you're right. That is the and I want to share something here too. I talked just briefly about that bid I put in today. So some of you guys out there are looking at that new Sierra EV or the GMC RST, the faster charging truck, the bigger battery, bigger range. We all need this, right? I ran 3 scenarios from Kansas to California. I know it says Coffeyville, that's where we live, but Kansas to California. Scenario 1, top left, Lightning, when it says no generator, what that means is a generator in the bed, because my buddy Pat and I and a guy in Tulsa are working on putting a generator in the bed of the Lightning, hooked into the truck live while you're going down the road. And there's a reason for that, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Lightning stock, 8 charges. It was a day and 3 hours. We're rounding it off here. The Lightning with the generator, and this is a 19 kilowatt generator, so it's about the same as your Ford Charge Station Pro, what it puts out. A day and 50 minutes, and it took me down to 5 charges. So it saves about 2.5 hours on a full day trip. Not a game changer. And then you start comparing that to the new Chevy or GMC Sierra EV. It was 6 charges and a day and 1 hour. It's only 2 hours faster, a little over, than a stock ER Lightning. And the reason is, if you look at the amount of time it takes, or the amount of energy it's going to be required to go from California to Kansas, that total energy doesn't change no matter what you're driving, unless you're talking about something that's really, really efficient. So the new Sierra gets about 1.8, 1.9. The Lightnings do about 2.0, 2.1. The Lightning's a little more efficient. The Sierra is a little less efficient, but it can go longer. So I went through this. I built this for myself, really, to kind of say, hey, what's the Lightning do versus what's the Chevy going to do on a long road trip? Now, I think there are some situations on shorter road trips that it could be beneficial, because if you can drive 6 hours and not charge, for me, I have to charge at least once doing that. So it's going to cost me an extra 30 or 45 minutes. That's kind of the use case that I went, why should I get rid of my $40,000 or $50,000 Lightning for some of a 60 or 80,000? But a lot of guys now can buy one for about 60 and go to a $100,000 Chevy because I want more range. Well, this kind of gives you that. If you've got 8 charges in a Lightning and 6 in a Chevy EV, that's 2 charges difference. Well, how long does it take to fully charge a Lightning on the road trip? About 50 minutes. That's about 2 hours. So the gut check works along with the $30,000 difference in the truck. I couldn't justify it. I bid $37,000, $38,000 on the Sierra EV today. A wrecked, no warranty, like we always do. Had 5,000 miles on it, nice truck, and it went for 48 grand.
That battery pack is a big part of that extra cost too. You know, it's just big got part. This. Yeah.
It's a big part of why the truck's not as efficient either. And why it weighs 9,000 pounds with those 8 lug wheels. So I like it. I wanted one. I still do. But when I went through these numbers, this helped me justify keeping them the Lightning. And we all know there's guys out there that have some Lightning problems, modules. Chris, you've had one, but you haven't lately. And I think a lot of that, they're releasing a software update coming up that's going to help eliminate some of these that we think are erroneous. They're really erroneous. And a lot of dealers, I think, are putting modules in it not knowing. I don't know that the dealers all 100% know. I'm totally speculating there. But the 12-volt battery is another thing that causes some of these warnings that come up. And those are reasons that people are scared of the Lightning a little bit. What is this doing with my truck? I'm going to go to a Chevy. You mentioned it earlier, Chris, and I meant to bring it up about the 12-volt battery. What do I do when I'm updating my truck?
Right.
Well, I hook a battery charger to it, and a battery maintainer, battery charger. Those are all things that you kind of need to have hooked up. So I read an article today about the over-the-air updates and why Ford doesn't push them any faster than they do. And the main reason is those updates are so big, and it takes your truck offline, where it's not putting energy from the high voltage battery through the DC to DC inverter to the low voltage battery while it's doing the update. That has to be off, and you'll kill the battery. You'll kill the battery.
It's kind of like they made these batteries so small because they didn't think they needed to be any bigger. But for some, I think, for some of these, I'm surprised they're not just going with bigger batteries. And
well, a lot of guys, I know it's a little bit of controversial, but a lot of guys are going to that lithium battery instead of
but it's 400
one.
Yeah, 450 bucks.
It is, but if you look at how many times you're going to have to change the lead acid battery or the AGM battery that's in there versus that one, and how much better how much longer that lithium is going to last, I think it's worth the money. When mine goes out next, that's what I'm doing. And there's some voltage regulations. Some say that the BMS doesn't learn it, but the BMS is there to learn. You can reset the BMS and it will learn the new battery. It may not be perfect, but I've seen a lot of guys run them and they don't have a lot of trouble. So that's the reason why we're not seeing our over-the-air updates. All the stuff that we talked about tonight, you're not getting them over the air quick like Tesla does, because a little bit of it is it'll kill the battery trying to put it in the car, and it has to be maintained. So I think they ought to release it where you can plug the truck in, and through software say, oh, we're going to charge your 12-volt battery while it's doing this update if you're plugged in.
I just wanted to share before we wrapped up. This was just posted by Ford Performance, heading back to Pikes Peak, and they've done in the past. They've done the van, and they've done the special series Lightning, and here it looks like we're going to see a special Performance Mach-E. Yeah, look at that. Look at that beast. I mean, that just looks sick. The red, the logo just reinforces that idea, right? Of that light up pony, that light up badge. It just looks so
You can see it's a wide body. And if they put Romain Dumas behind the wheel of that thing, it's going to rock.
Yeah. So I know Ford has their performance day today and has rolled out a whole bunch of stuff. And so looks like another competitor for Pikes Peak. They really go the extra mile when it comes to these crazy high performance batteries. I've seen a Mach-E drift car, the 1400 that they had over at Electrify Expo, and I am not able to sit in that thing. I am too fluffy a fella. So I got to see it up close. I've got a video on my channel from not this past year, but the year before, where I got to talk to the driver and I got to see inside of it and see all the motors lined up. And it was really impressive. They did put me in a normal GT Mach-E and let me go around the skid track and threw me around a bit in that one. And that was a lot of fun. But this is taking it to yet another level for Pikes Peak. And you can see the arrow on that, and it's just fun. It's just fun to see Ford always pushing the envelope. Yeah, really cool there. So shout out
when
Ford,
as battery tech continues, you're going to see this type stuff roll over into our daily lives. And you talked a little bit about the megawatt chargers earlier. I think that's where we're headed, because if you're going to put energy into a battery, it doesn't matter. Energy is energy, right? It takes so many kilowatts to run down the road. Doesn't matter how. So if we're going to shove that into a battery, if we all talk about wanting 10-minute charges, if you put 130 kilowatts in a battery in 10 minutes, that's like 1,000 kilowatts charge rate. So we're going to really have a lot of power and a lot of C rate, which is the ability for a battery to charge and discharge in this tech before we see it.
Yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. I do feel like this is going to be a bit of a transitional year, even a lost year, where we don't see a ton of exciting things coming out yet. Hopefully next year.
It's all in the works, right? You've heard that.
Yep. Yeah. And
but that's part of the reason why I didn't buy that truck today, because I don't know what's going to happen. You know, is the Sierra going to take off? Is it too expensive? Can we sell them, especially new, let alone a guy like me that's trying to sell you one that doesn't have a warranty? You know, these are all risk things. We don't really know what's going to happen politically, and I don't want to get off into that, because it doesn't really matter what your stance is. Things are going to change.
Yeah, all these trucks are so expensive right now. If the Lightning still remains the value king of all of these things, and the other trucks are just really expensive right now. Yeah. You have the EV world, right?
Even though the depreciation hit kicks your ass, but you still get a really good truck for the value. It's not going to retain like the F-150, the gas F-150 does, but you know, depreciation only hits if you sell it.
Joey's going to need you to make him one of those harnesses, because he's going to go out and get one of those LED emblems now.
Getting the Putco T harness, just watch my video. It walks you right through it.
Yeah.
Chris, we got to get yours working again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, we have you have to add an extra day to your trip just to get my truck up to speed with all the cool little modifications that you can do when you come out and bring your laptop and your harness.
I'm going to make sure your Ford dealer has an extra battery on hand in case we kill your 12-volt trying to do this.
Yeah, good news is I just got a fresh battery not too long ago, and they're not.
Oh, well, that's great. We'll probably be fine.
So put a battery tender or something on there.
For a battery electric truck to put such a poor 12-volt in, it kills me.
Yep.
But all right.
Well, that wraps it up, guys. Thank you for joining us for another live version of Turned Down for What. Don't forget to visit all of our channels. Martin Rebuilds. Check out the ticker down below. Bowe Family EV. Of course, Turned Down for What itself. Don't forget about that. We do have a lot of cool videos on there as well. The fellas just went and did the ID Buzz, so you can see we've got that on there. We've got we had a great episode where we talked to Mach-E vlog. We've been talking about Mach-E's today, and then of course I had the one where I talked to my sister about her BMW iX and transitioning from Tesla. She had the S and the X before that, and now has the BMW. So these are our last episodes that are all up there on the Turn Down for What channel. Yeah, lots of good stuff. And then we'll hopefully have Jace back with us again next week. But until then, check it all out. Like, subscribe, share, make comments. If you're angry, put that down there as well. Little shout out here right at the end from Tyler. Drive it till it dies. Yeah, absolutely. That's where I'm at on these things too, you know. And once again, shout out to Martin, the Mr. Fix-It of the community. So
yeah, we were working on getting some matrix headlights going on his, and there were some differences in the code, but he got it working. So
that is awesome.
All right.
Good stuff.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thanks everybody. We'll see you on the next one.
All right.